Howdy folks, welcome back to the MatchNet podcast. This is your brother, Benjy, and we are doing an episode today here in the fall of dear old North Carolina, sitting in the driveway, and I just had an inspiration to message you guys to make a video because I am doing a webinar soon on the topic of when matching and blessing feels too hard and you want to give up, all right? And we're doing this webinar with High Noon, David Hewish and myself, and are organizing this webinar for single people because we know that this is a big point of pain for people is sometimes the matching and blessing, preparing for it feels difficult, it's hard, it's, you want to give up sometimes, and there's all the emotions that go into preparing. I know, my goodness, the thoughts that maybe this isn't meant to be, the thoughts that maybe I should just, find someone on my own and just give up on this whole blessing thing because maybe it's, not as awesome as you're told, or whatever the reason is, right? Regardless of, there are a host of emotions that happen when you're preparing for this thing, and it often feels daunting, right? Especially if you're early on in your matching process, especially if you have been doing this for a while. So in preparing for this webinar, which is happening this Tuesday, by the way, I'll put some information down below where you guys can figure it out, join if you want. And in preparation for this, I've had to kind of think of how do I want to frame this this conversation? How do I want to portray? What is speaking to me in terms of how to approach it? And I realize it's really hard for me to tackle this topic because I have two dual approaches. There's a duality going inside of me. And the reason this duality exists is because there are different types of people. And so if you've ever made content, you know that it's hard to make generalized content because no one cares about general advice. But it's also equally hard to make specific content because the audience is coming from different places, right? And so the dual approaches I have is one of soft love and one of hard love. And so my initial gut instinct when I approach this topic is actually more of the hard love approach. But then I really thought about it and I realized that a lot of people that are going through the feelings of wanting to just give up on their ideals and their desire to be blessed in marriage, many times people need soft love first, right? Many times people need compassion, and that's another way of putting it. And so I'll give both of those approaches here in this video, all right? And so in a situation where if I were talking with, or we have someone, come on the live stream, the webinar, that is feeling hopeless and feeling this daunting task of climbing this matching mountain, and I really feel like the appropriate approach is to really acknowledge you guys that it can be difficult, that can be very, very hard, and especially because of the uncertainty of what's going to happen and the prospect of maybe there's a better option. Maybe it's better to just give up. Maybe you're not meant to be, in a blessed relationship, and these thoughts start coming in. I would really, honestly, I would acknowledge someone who has the guts to say, I have these ideals, but sometimes I feel like they're wrong, or sometimes I feel like I don't want to live up to them anymore. I would much rather applaud someone like that than someone that is just faking it to make it. Someone that is just blowing smoke and saying, oh yeah, I believe in the blessing and the ideals and I'm doing everything I can, but secretly they don't really believe this stuff. Secretly they're holding a lot of fear about disappointing their parents, or fear of disappointing whoever in their life that they're beholden to, right? And so if someone has the honesty to just say, hey, I love the blessing and I love this idea of like a family-centered, intentional matching process, but it's dang hard and I'm having a hard time, I would say, good for you. Good for you. You're not perfect and you're not ideal yet. And that's cool. That means you're human, and I respect you for that. To the same extent, if somebody is, in a matching process and I'm kind of consulting them and they say, Benjy, I'm really struggling with my mental health or my sexual integrity, or I'm really struggling with this, that, or the other, I would say, good for you. Like, I don't see you any less qualified to be a matching candidate because of your mistakes. I see you more qualified because of your honesty and your willingness to stand up in the face of fear, in the face of your shadows, in the face of uncertainty, and the fear of being letting down your matching partner, and being honest with her or him and saying, hey, you know, I've struggled with this, that, or I am struggling with this or that. And I would say, good for you. Like, I would much, and I've said this before, but when I'm matching my children, or we're engaged in a matching process with my kids, I would much rather have my daughters marry a man who has struggled and is honest about it than someone who's never struggled. Period. Always. 9 times out of 10. Why? No, 10 times out of 10. Why? Because a man who's never struggled doesn't have the wisdom, the foresight, the experience under his belt to live a life of purpose and fulfillment and joy and true happiness, because they've never struggled. They've never struggled. If you've never struggled in your life, then you are going to struggle eventually. You're going to get into a relationship and you're not going to know what to do. A man or woman that has never learned how to deal with emotions of life, the stresses of life, which are quite challenging at times, is not someone that's going to have a stable relationship. Someone who's never had sexual fantasies, for example, who's never, failed in a diet, or failed at having sexual integrity, or failed and fell flat on their face, even though they said they wanted to do something, they kept making mistakes and failing over and over again, but they get back up and keep trying. If you've never experienced that, who says that you're not going to experience that later in life? Down the road, when you're married, when you have kids, when you experience a new level of emotions and difficulties in your life. Suffering is not required to live a happy life. That's not what I'm saying. People will misunderstand this and say, oh, I have to suffer, and that's how I experience happiness. That's how I experience growth. No, suffering is not the requirement. Suffering just provides the opportunities for you to grow, the opportunity for you to learn, to develop, to learn the lessons of life. Your family, your blessing, your children will create the greatest training ground of your life to experience learning the lessons that you came here to learn, that you were designed to learn. School is not the school of love. Family is the school of love. That's where you will learn these things. And you're learning it right now. You're learning it right now as we speak, as you're going through all this stuff, all these emotions you're experiencing, you're learning it right now, which is how to deal with life, period. All right? And so, to recap, the compassionate side, the soft love side, is good for you. Good for you. I applaud you. I appreciate you. God loves you. God is proud of you for having the heart of love to be self-aware enough to say, you know what, this is hard. I have these ideals and I'm not living up to them sometimes. Good for you. You have these ideals of being this man or woman of integrity, of honesty and truth and love, and sometimes you fail. Some moments you just aren't that. Some days you just aren't that. Good for you. That's growth, my friend. That's a good thing. That's amazing. Think about it like this. The vast majority of humans are not even willing to look at themselves in the mirror and say, man, I've got a lot to learn. I've got a lot to grow. I need to get my integrity in check. I need to be more honest. I need to be more loving. For example, most people aren't thinking like that. But if you're going to come on here, listen to this, and say, man, I have some things to work on. Good for you. You understand the point. If you are in a mindset of growth, my friend, especially if you're in the mindset of growth through the blessing and through having children and raising those children, and you're willing to grow and experience God in the process, guess what? You understand life. You understand the whole point. You understand the entire purpose of what we're doing here on this planet. You get it. Most people don't get it. Do you understand? Most people don't get it because they're so wrapped up in their petty squabbles about education, school, politics, money, status, all the things that of course are important at times, but they're totally wrapped up in them. You can see it in people's eyes. petty squabbles that when they go to spirit world, they're going to say, what the heck was I doing with my life? And their friends in spirit world, their ancestors are going to laugh at their face and make fun of them because they're going to say, what were you doing with your life? Look how much time you spent on Instagram, on YouTube, consuming stuff, thinking about, considering, worrying about, and fearing over things that don't matter. That's the majority of people, my friend. That's the majority of people. Don't believe me? Talk to people. Go on the internet. Look at where the majority of our attention goes on the internet. Look at where the most influential people are. What are they talking about? Where's the attention go? Where's the collective attention? Of course there are great people in this world. Of course. Of course there are stellar, faithful, religious people of this world. Of course. But where's the collective majority of our energy going? Just look at the internet. Just talk to people. Where is it going? External things. External things. Superficial things. That matter sometimes, yes. Maybe like 1% of the time. I would say even more like 0.0001% of the time, because the majority of reality is not external. The majority of reality is spiritual, is internal. Is the fabric of the universe. It's just love. It's just invisible. But we put all of our attention on external. Why am I saying this? Because you need to wake up to the fact that you are here. If you're striving for something beautiful in your life, and you are standing up against the current, living against the grain, my friend, I think you should be proud of yourself. I think you should be loving to yourself. I think you should have compassion for yourself. I think you're doing well. All right? And so that's my overall soft love message. And that applies to most people, especially if you're willing to work on yourself and willing to listen to this episode, right? Now, the hard love stuff, which is where my first gut reaction is, my knee-jerk reaction is to do the hard love after I've done the soft love, which is to say, you can't be a victim of your circumstances. You can't. You can do what you want in your life. If you're going to come to me and say, the matching blessing is too hard, there's no one out there, what am I going to say? What have you tried? I've tried everything. I've tried all the things. I've tried all the websites. Nothing's working. Everyone's so hateful. Everyone's so closed-minded. There's no good men in this world. There's no good sisters out there. What have you tried? Do you really believe that? With all the faith you have, without how faithful you are in God and true parents and spirit world, is that faith real, or are you just gonna let your mind and your head and your analytical side of you saying, there's no one out there? Have some faith. Have some faith, my friend. Have some faith that your journey is not exactly what you think it should be or might look like. Have some faith. That's what faith is, my friend. It's to face uncertainty and keep walking, even though you have no idea when or how you're going to get there, but you know that if you keep walking, you're going to get there. That's the promise. You're some special unicorn that only you have this difficult path, and you're not going to get matched and blessed because there's no good men out there and there's no great sisters out there? Really? What have you tried? Tell me. Write it down and send me in a text or an email. What have you tried to get matched and blessed? And I'm going to reply to you, because you know I'm going to do this, and laugh in your face and say, I know dozens of people that have tried 10 times more than you. That have tried years, more than decades, to find a partner. And they did, because they never gave up. Because they never were a victim to say that life is too difficult for me. It's unfair to me. Everyone can have this greatness, but I can't. Benjy can do it, and I know you're thinking this. If you're a victim, I know this is how you think. Benjy can do it because XYZ. I know the reasons. But that is the most petty rebuttal you can have. Is, oh, well, you can't do, you could do it because you're this. Or you don't understand because you don't understand my situation. It's petty. It's an easy cop-out for any argument. It's like, well, you don't understand because you're a male. you don't understand because you're whatever. Stop for a second and listen to your thoughts. That's the most petty, self-victimizing thoughts you could have. Is, well, he could do it, she could do it, they could do it because they have this and that. Where's your faith, my friend? Have some faith. Have some faith that there is something around you that's guiding you in your life. Just look at your life as evidence. Do you feel like you have not had experiences in your life? Regardless of your family or situations, maybe you have an excellent family, maybe you have a difficult family situation, but look at your experiences that brought you here today. Look at the times that you felt God in your life. Look at the times you felt truly connected to your family and loved by your family, your parents, siblings, whoever. Look at that time you went to that gap year program, GPA, whatever. You think those experiences were just nonsense? Don't you think something was guiding you in that process? Don't you think something is guiding you along in this journey of life? Don't you think there's an invisible hand, a force of God? How could you doubt that? Have some faith. How do you have faith? How do I have more faith? You just decide, dude. Just decide. That's what faith is. You decide. Like I said, you just keep walking. That's all faith is. You don't need to know everything. People are so wrapped up in, I need to understand exactly why mother said this, why father said this, why does the DP say this, why does unification thought say this, why? Guess what? Faith really is, you have to be able to say, maybe there's a reason that I don't need to know. Ever think of that? Maybe you don't need to know 100% of everything. And that's okay. This is how I view mother. I believe mother in her messianic role as true mother. And so because of that fundamental belief, I don't care what she says. Let me rephrase that. No matter what she says, no matter how she portrays it, I will accept it because of her messianic role. Does that make sense? Because that is above anything else that she says or does. Same goes with true father. I don't have to understand everything he does. I don't have to understand everything true mother has said or has not said. That's, to me, what my faith is. And I'm okay with that. I'm at peace with that. I'm not going to get on the forums. I'm not going to get on Facebook and the websites and try to have arguments about understanding this, that, or the other. I don't care. Because my belief is in the messianic role of true parents. Because without them, I would have nothing. You think about that? If you're a second generation or third generation BC listening to this, you would have nothing without true mother. You would not exist. I would not have children. I would not have my wife. I would not be. Which is wild to think about. I would not be without mother. So in that sense, she is my mother. She's a mother to me. I wouldn't exist. And because that gratitude I have is the baseline for my faith. And so anything beyond that is like, well, I don't know. I don't have to know. And that's not a justification for me to not care, by the way. It's just, I'm okay. I've done my work, guys. I've done my research. I've gone to the workshops. I do the night vigils with my wife, right? That's not a justification. I go to church with my family. So there's not justification for me to ignore my faith and say, well, I don't know, so let's just live my life. No. My faith is fundamentally, there are things that are important, that are the baseline. And beyond that, it's just what people say and how people say, and that's fine. That's fine. I'm okay with not understanding everything. That's what I think faith is. So have some faith. Have some faith. Gosh, I wish I could tattoo this on my forehead. So every time people see me, they can read it. Have some faith. Maybe I'll get a bumper sticker for my car. Have some faith. Have some faith. You're on a path. Just keep walking. Just keep going. Okay, so I've presented you, my friends, with a compassionate heart, which is absolutely necessary to understand, to give love, to give grace, to give understanding. And there's also necessity for the hard love, which is to push, which is to shake a little bit, to motivate, and I hope you can feel the duality of both of these. If my wife were here with me, then she would do the compassionate part, and I would do the hard love part. Actually, sometimes it's the opposite. My wife can be a very hard loving person. I've noticed in my life. I'll give you a quick story about this. Of the times in our blessing where I felt really, really low, like borderline depressed low. And there are days like that. Sometimes I think we all have, depressive days. And on those days, I just hate everything about everything. I hate my life. I hate myself. I hate this neighbor right here. I'm just upset, right? And what's interesting is that when I become like that, sometimes, and I go to my wife and I share this stuff with her, I really, really, really want someone just to like hold me and say, it's okay. Don't worry about it. I got you. I understand. But what my wife tends to do is she pushes hard when I become like this. She's like, what are you doing? Shikkari shinasai. Get your act together. Like, that's how she approaches it. And it doesn't help. I'm like, honey, like, can you just listen and not do that right now? And she's like, I'm busy. Like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Can you just like get your act together? We need you. And that's her kind of sentiment towards me. It's like, we need you in our household. We need you to be strong, and it's just funny. I don't blame her for it. I don't chastise her. But there are people in my life I go to that I do need soft love from sometimes, like my parents or, mostly my parents, sometimes my good friend. And so we need different types of love. And if my wife were here, she would probably give you guys the soft love approach, right? In a public setting. She's only really hard with me, but with other people, she's quite loving and compassionate. So if you guys are wondering why she's not here, she's inside and she's hanging out with the kids. They're probably eating lunch right now, which is what I'm gonna go and do. Yeah, you can reach out to her anytime, by the way, if you want to have a conversation with her, if you want to hear her perspective. She's happy to do that. She's more of a one-on-one type of person. So find her on Facebook, pretty much. Yeah, that's the best way to reach her if you want to get some super wisdom. She is an oracle. I call her the oracle of our family, because if you ask her a question, she will immediately have a response. This is probably her training in unification theology, because that's what she studied at Sun Moon under the greatest unification professors you can around, right? She studied this stuff, so you give her a question, she'll be like, she'll shoot straight to the answer. So yeah, it's great to have an oracle in our household, for me, right, and for our kids. That's all I have for you guys. Let me know which approach you appreciated more. That'd be nice feedback. Hard love or soft love, I think it depends on the person, but I think we all need both. We all do need both. And so let me know. You can email me if you want, or you can find me on Instagram. Actually, it's probably easiest for everyone is just find me on Instagram, and you can message me, DM me, and I will respond to you. I will respond to everybody, all of you people. Okay? Yeah, please share this episode with somebody that is in your life, on your matching team, if you have a matching team. If you don't, then find one. Find a matching team. Find people to keep in your life, and I will catch you in the next episode. Bye.